Hi, everyone. We've got a big group today starting to gather. Thanks for being here. As we let people get here, why don't we do some introductions? If you want your name in the chat, say which market you're from, and also what types of exempt or non-licensed foods are being sold at your market. We're curious to know what's already at your market for that. So again, if you just got here, we're saying hello to the room by saying what market we're at and listing what exempt foods are at your market. And if you don't know, let us know that too. That may be why you're here today. Hi there, everyone. We see some more people have just joined. It looks like we're going to have a really big group today. We're giving people a little bit more time to get here, and as people get here, we're just doing some introductions in the chat. People are listing, saying hello, what farmers market that they are from, and then listing some exempt foods that your vendors are selling at your market. And if you're not sure what those are, which you may not be, because that's a problem, because that's why you're here, feel free to just mention that too. Okay, I think I'll get started with the introduction, and feel free to keep sharing in the chat who you are, what market you're with, and what exempt foods are at your market. But I'll get started with the rest of our introduction. Hi, everyone. Welcome. This webinar is being hosted by the Oregon Farmers Markets Association, or OFMA. OFMA supports farmers markets with training, networking, advocacy, funding, and promotion. We run workshops and peer learning circles every month, and there are lots of opportunities through OFMA to connect and find support from the statewide farmers market community. You can check out our event schedule online and see what's coming next, and we hope you'll register and join us again. And we also have recordings of all our past workshops in our YouTube library. And we'll put a few links in the chat if you want to check those out. I'm happy to see this crowd gathering here. We've already started with introductions, so thank you for popping in the chat and saying hello. My name's Amanda Cross. I'm with OFMA and here hosting the Zoom room today. Also here from OFMA is Kendra Graves, who you'll be talking with in the chat window. And we want to welcome that cameras can be on or off, whatever feels good to help you attend and participate. And please do participate. We're here for you to share your real experiences and questions about running farmers markets. And the other way to contribute is by giving your time and making sure you save space for others to respond to you or ask their own questions as well. And remember, we've got a variety of options available for contributing. Maybe try something new today in a way you haven't before. Type your thoughts in the chat, raise a hand when you want to speak or ask a question. We also love to see use of emojis and the reactions button to give a quick sense of how something landed for you or to give affirmation to what you've heard. This is really helpful for the speakers to get some feedback and see your reaction. So again, yeah, when you have a question, you can use the raise hand option or put them in the chat as you think of them. We'll try to have some time at the end to get those questions answered. Okay, today we are talking about something that market managers often see their food maker vendors say on their applications, which is that they are using the cottage foods exemption. But what is a cottage food? And when we talk about an exemption, what does that mean? What are we exempting from? To answer that and to give us better info for how you can best support these types of vendors, we have Jingyun Gun here today. Jingyun is a program manager for the Oregon Department of Agriculture's Food Safety Program, and her work is to help people better understand food safety, including the cottage food exemption, which she actually helped to write the rules for. So we're in the right place with the right person. So hi, Jingyun, please introduce yourself and let's get started.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I'm very glad I'm having this opportunity to meet with you and provide you some information on cottage food. So again, I'm the Food Safety Program Manager with Oregon Department of Agriculture. I've been working with ODA for almost 14 years. I started as a food safety inspector in the field, mainly in Salem and Corvallis urban area. And I shifted to this manager position about 2 years ago. And I was involved in the rulemaking for cottage food. So hopefully I can provide you some useful information here today. So I would like to share my screen, my slides with you. Do you see my screen? Yes.
Yep, we see it, but it's on the, you need to
Yeah.
make the presenter view.
Okay.
There you go. Perfect.
Okay, hold on. You see, so you do see the screen, okay.
Yep.
Okay. So first, I would like to give a brief introduction for our department and food safety program. So ODA's mission is to ensure healthy natural resources, environment, and economy for Oregonians now and in the future through inspection and certification, regulation, and promotion of agriculture and food. So we have five divisions. So in addition to our food safety and animal health division, we also have natural resources, plant protection and conservation, agriculture services, and administrative services. And for the for food safety program, our mission is to prevent the spread of foodborne illness in Oregon. To accomplish this mission, we monitor Oregon's food industry. We license and inspect food facilities in Oregon, and we enforce state sanitation laws and respond to foodborne illness. So our work is to ensure the consumers in Oregon gets safe and wholesome food product, not contaminated, mislabeled, misrepresented, or adulterated. So this slide is showing the types of licenses we issue. So you can see we issue retail license, bakery license, meat licenses, eggs, food processing establishment, warehousing establishment. We also issue domestic kitchen food processor license and domestic kitchen bakery license. And we also have pet food processing license for pet food containing meat ingredients. And we also have dairy, shellfish, and classified food licenses. For classified food, that includes cannabis, kratom, and psilocybin ingredients. So currently, we have over 13,500 licensees with ODA food safety program. So in general, a food facility in Oregon need a food safety license with Oregon Department of Agriculture or with the local county health department. But some exemptions exist to exempt some products or productions from being licensed. So that those exemptions include the Farm Direct Marketing Bill, the cottage food exemption, and some benevolent or nonprofit organizations that prepare and sell non-potentially hazardous foods. And as I mentioned earlier, the pet food without meat does not require a license with ODA. And we also have policies that very small retail inventory, for example, a gas station with non-perishable food only and keep the inventory at $2,000 or below, they could be exempt from the license. And farm stand for raw fruits and vegetables could be exempt. And we also have some dairy exemptions and honey exemptions. Honey exemption is for the beekeepers having 20 hives or less. They could be exempt from the license requirement. So today we are going to talk about cottage food exemption. So we will focus on this topic only today. So for the cottage food exemption was expanded from previous home baking and confectionery exemption. So the Senate Bill 643 passed in June 2023, the legislative session, and it became effective in January 2024. The significant changes brought by the cottage food exemption include first is the expanded scope for the food product under the exemption. So previously, baked goods, confectionery goods were exempt. So in addition to that, the cottage food exemption added some other food products. I will a later slide will talk more about the cottage food product exemption. The product can be exempt. And in addition, the gross annual sale limit has been increased from $20,000 to $50,000. And now the cottage food allows the cottage food product to be sold on internet through the mail. And also, previously, the home bakery exemption did not allow the product to be sold to a retail store. But for the cottage food exemption, it is allowed that cottage food product to be sold to a retail store. But the cottage food must be packaged, and the retailer must agree to store and display the cottage food separately from other commercial food product, and they must clearly indicate in the displaying area that the cottage food are homemade and not prepared in an inspected food establishment. And also, cottage food does not prohibit the pets in the kitchen, in the residential dwelling. However, the pet cannot be in the kitchen when cottage food production is ongoing. And if you have pet at home, then the pet need to be declared on the cottage food labeling. So talking about the labeling requirement, now cottage food operators have the option to use unique identification number for their establishment instead of listing their home address on the label. And again, if they have pets in the residential dwelling, they need to declare the pet on their label. So these are the significant changes brought by the cottage food exemption. So, first, let's look at what food are qualified for the exemption. So first, I would like to emphasize that cottage food establishment must operate from a domestic kitchen where the home meal preparation occurs. So you cannot just use some people say, can I use my garage to make cottage food? That's a no. So the cottage food must be made in the kitchen where you also prepare your home meal. And you cannot use some friends' home kitchen because you have to live in the residence where the domestic kitchen is located. And also the cottage food must be non-potentially hazardous product, do not contain marijuana or marijuana items. So regarding potentially hazardous food, I have a slide later to talk about the details. So the items to be exempt under the cottage food, so like previously already exist, is first is the baked goods and confection items, including freeze-dried confectionery items. But for freeze-drying process, I need to emphasize that freeze-drying process is only allowed for confectionery items, not for other food. The reason behind that is that because a freeze drying process normally include the freezing step and freeze drying step, which may take long process, maybe take 12, even more than 1 day. For cottage food operation, all the whole operation must be completed without other domestic kitchen activities. For example, the home meal cooking. So for cottage food operation, it must be completed within couple hours. So only the confectionery goods like Skittles, they do not need to be free. They don't need to be. They don't need to go through the freezing step, and their moisture content is pretty low. So the freeze drying process does not take too much long time. So only freeze drying candies are allowed on the cottage food exemption. So the rest of the menu include coffee beans, but this means the dry coffee bean. So if you make coffee, it does not include coffee drinks, so no liquid, no liquid coffee, just coffee beans. And also, the cottage food operators can blend dry tea, spice, or seasonings, but the ingredients must be from commercial food, which means the raw ingredients must be from a licensed facility. And they can make popcorn, jams, and jelly, which are made with fruit with a natural pH is less than 4.60. They don't need to grow the fruit. They can purchase fruit, but the fruit must have a natural pH that is less than 4.6. And they can they can make honey or honey products. But if they make flavored honey, the flavoring ingredients must be from a commercial food, from a licensed facility. They can also make syrups, fruit butters made with fruit with a natural pH that is less than 4.0. They can also mix nuts, and they can repackage freeze-dried foods from commercial food. So again, they cannot freeze drying non they cannot freeze drying other food product except candies, but they can purchase already freeze dried product from a commercial source, and they can repackage them under cottage food exemption. They can also repackage dried and dehydrated food from commercial food, and they can also mix powders to make a drink mix, but the ingredients must be from commercial food. Okay. Okay, so now I would like to talk about what is potentially hazardous food, or it is also called time temperature controlled for safety food. So potentially hazardous food is food requiring temperature control due to the capacity to support the progress growth of infectious microorganisms or the growth of toxic organisms. So these food include, but are not limited to, food containing fresh, frozen, or dry meat, including jerky, and also the food made with fish or shellfish products. And food requires any type of refrigeration after production for food safety purpose. Focaccia style bread made with vegetable or cheese are potentially hazardous food. Candied fresh fruit products including caramel and candy apples, and also chocolate covered strawberries. These are potentially hazardous foods and cannot be covered on the cottage food exemption. And in general, the food that has been heat treated to destroy vegetative cells and subsequently packaged with a pH level greater than 4.6 or with a water activity greater than 0.85. These are potentially hazardous food not covered under the cottage food exemption.
Hi, Jingyun. There's a
Yep.
few questions in the chat that maybe, I know we were going to do them at the end, but maybe we should do a few as we
Okay.
go.
Okay.
I
So
think,
let me
yeah, I think I do want to help clarify for people in case this part is confusing. It's not that from some of your questions, it's not that some of these things are not allowed at a farmer's market, but that they're not allowed to happen under they're not exempt from a license. Like they can still be at your market. The vendor's just going to need to get a license. And I think
Yes.
we're going to talk about that more later in the
Yes.
presentation. But Jinghyun, can you clarify about hot or iced coffee or tea being able to be
Oh, okay.
this exemption, and then also and about teas, can they
Yeah.
not be made or grown? They need to be commercially bought.
So you can buy tea leaves, or you can buy dry tea, and then you can mix them with so first is no liquid tea or liquid coffee, no coffee drink or tea drink. So it has to be dried coffee bean or dried ground coffee. Then you package them and sell them as that format. And you can buy spices, like you can buy, for example, you buy garlic powder, um, ginger powder, you mix them and make a spice blend, or you can buy different tea leaves and some dry herbs, and you mix them to make some herbal tea bag or a tin a packaged tea mixture to be sold as dry tea. So these are allowed, but you cannot just do like hot brew or cold brew of tea and you sell the tea as a tea drink with the liquid. So that is not covered on the exemption. You can still do that, but then you need a license with ODA to do that. So right here, we are just talking about these products could be exempt from the licensure requirement.
Okay, I also seen it's coming up now, some confusion between cottage foods exemption versus the farm direct exemption. And I want to help
Yeah.
people understand that those are two different exemptions,
Yes.
and there are some different things allowed under them. And we do actually have a whole webinar on the farm direct exemption. So maybe
Yeah.
Kendra
So
can put a link in there to that. Um,
So in general, so farm direct exemption is for farmers. You have to grow the principal ingredients. If you make apple jam or strawberry jam, you have to grow the apple, you grow the strawberry. So the principal ingredients has to be grown by basically you are a farmer. You have a farm to grow these raw ingredients. But for cottage food, that is not a requirement. As long as you make these products at your home kitchen, then you can purchase raw ingredients. So that's the big difference. And of course, the menu is a little different. So for farm direct marketing, so I'm looking at the list of the products under the farm direct exemption that include fruit-based syrups and fruit in syrup, jam, jelly, and preserve. So there's some overlapping stuff between cottage food and farm direct. So for example, the strawberry jam could be, if you grow the strawberry, your product could be covered on the farm direct. But if you purchase the strawberry, you could be covered on the cottage food. And for farm direct, they allow to do acidified fruit and vegetables, lacto-fermented fruits and vegetables, and they also can do fruit and vegetable juice. So juice is not covered on the cottage food. So the menu is little different, and the requirement for the principal ingredients is different, and the labeling has some different as well. So these are two separate exemptions. So farm direct is specifically for farmers using their ingredients to make certain products. But cottage food, you are not required to grow the ingredients. That's the major difference.
And so just to make it even just a little bit confusing, just remember that you could have a farmer who decides to also expand what they do and just go out and buy ingredients
Mm-hmm.
and want to sell something that's then under the cottage foods exemption.
Yeah, so
Possibility too, but mainly you should think of it as your farmers who are making their own things using the ingredients that they've grown. They fall under the farm direct
farm direct.
exemption, and your other vendors who are buying their ingredients and are not tend to usually not be farmers are falling under this exemption.
Yeah, like you mentioned, Amanda, if farmer would like to expand their business and they decide to buy some raw ingredients, and then use the commercial ingredients to make cottage food product and they make them from their home kitchen, that could fall under cottage food exemption instead of the farm direct exemption. But at their booths, they need to separate. So this section is farm direct product, and this section is cottage food product because there's a labeling requirement. We will talk about later.
Yeah, so I'm going to let Dingyun keep going. We do have that whole other webinar about Farm Direct. And I see that there are some other questions there, but I want to keep us going with the presentation, and then we might interrupt later or have more Q&A at the end. Yeah.
Okay. So now let's look at the labeling requirement for cottage food product. So the cottage food products label on the principal display panel, which is the front panel with the product name, net weight, that must contain the following statement. This product is homemade, is not prepared in an inspected food establishment, and must be stored and displayed separately if merchandised by a retailer. So you have to quote by quote put this statement on the principal display panel for the cottage food package. And then in addition to that, the general labeling requirement also apply, like the name of the product, the ingredients, including the sub-ingredients of the food, must be listed in descending order by weight or volume. And if the product contains one of the 9 major allergens like the soy, milk, wheat, egg, they must put the allergen information on the label. And they need to have the business name for the food establishment. And now for the address of the food establishment, we have 3 options for cottage food products. So the first option is they list the full street address, city, state, and zip code. The second option is that they list the city, state, and zip code if the name and address of the food establishment are listed in a city directory. And the third option is that they use the unique identification number issued by ODA to replace the business name, the business address, sorry, because some domestication operators, they don't want to have their home address be showing on the label. So they have the option to apply for a unique identification number, and they use that number to replace the address. And then for the labeling, they also need to put the phone number of the cottage food establishment, the net weight or net volume of the product in both English and metric units. If the label provides nutrition content claim or health claim, then they need to provide the nutrition information label. Again, if they have pets in the residential dwelling, the label must include a statement that pets were present in the residential dwelling, and they need to include the species of the pet using the common name. For example, dog, cat, rabbit, bird. Yeah, they need to declare that as well. So unique identification number, I just want to give an example. So the number will be starting with AG-R and ended with UIN. So if you see a cottage food product with this number ended with UIN, which means they have a UIN number issued by ODA. And again, similar to the licenses, each UIN will expire on June 30th every year, and the cottage food operator need to renew the UIN every year with ODA. The use of expired or unauthorized UIN constitutes misbranding, and the UIN is personal to the applicant and cannot be transferred. Okay, so so cottage food, if they are sold to retail stores, they must be packaged. But at farmers market, we may see some cottage food operators selling products to the end users as single items, such as one cookie, one muffin, one bread at their stand, so without package. So in this case, they must have a placard at their booth that states this product is homemade and is not prepared in an inspected food establishment. And upon the request by the consumers, they must provide all labeling information as I described earlier. So they need to have the information available to be provided to the customer upon request. Okay, so what to do if a vendor's product does not qualify for the exemption? So, so at farmers market, as the manager of farmers market, when you have vendors bring a food product to the market, so a couple questions you can ask. So first is are you licensed with the Department of Agriculture or with the local health department? Then if they say yes, then you can ask them to show you the evidence of licensure, like a copy of license or some document. If they provide that, they are totally fine. The product is considered from approved source, so they can be sold at farmers market. And if they say, oh no, I don't have a license because I'm exempt, so ask them what exemptions they fall under. So they can say I fall under farm direct marketing, or I could fall under cottage food. So if they say my product falls under cottage food exemption, then you can check the list of the products to be exempt to see if they if the product meets one of the categories. If not, then it's not covered by cottage food. And even if the product is one of the types for the cottage food, then if it's labeled, you can check the label to see if the label carries the required cottage food information. And if not labeled, then they have to have the placard to indicate this is cottage food, as I just talked about in the last slide. And please keep in mind, all cottage foods, they are non-potentially hazardous, so they cannot be refrigerated for food safety. So if a vendor is bringing a cheesecake that requires refrigeration, although it's a bakery goods, but it's not a cottage food items. So in this case, if they still not have a license, please ask them to move the products that are not qualified as cottage food from the sale. And if the vendor has interest to get an ODA food safety license for those foods that does not fall under any exemption, you can ask them to contact our local ODA food safety inspector to get them started with the license application process. And in the worst scenario, if a vendor not listened to you and insisted insisted that their product is cottage food exempt, and although you know it's not exempt, but they say I can sell this and it's exempt, and not follow your instructions, the last solution is you can file a consumer complaint by either contacting the local ODA food safety inspector, or you can file the complaint on our website. And this is the last solution, and hopefully it does not happen too often. So on our website, with the title, What Can I Do Without a License? We list all the activities, the operations an operator can do without a license. And in the resources section, we have cottage food exemption handout in both English and Spanish version. And also we have cottage food exemption frequently asked questions in both languages as well. So you can just go there, print some handouts, and then you can also provide the link for to the vendors so they can obtain the information regarding cottage food exemption. And this is the website. I put the link at the bottom. Oh, sorry. Oh, the link is on the top. So if you go to our website, by selecting, oh, sorry, it's not, it's a screenshot here. So you can select the city's name, or you can put a zip code. Then you click the button, find food safety specialist. That will direct you to your local food safety inspector with their email address and their phone number. So you can reach out to them for any vendors who wants to get a food safety license with ODA. And this screenshot is showing the consumer complaint page. So this is the link to the consumer complaint webpage and where you can file a complaint. We always keep the complainant anonymous, so you can fill out the information, your name, your address, your information, but we will keep that information anonymous. And then you can fill out the details to let us know, hey, there's a potential there's an operator consider themselves cottage food exempt, but actually they are not. So in that case, our local food safety inspector will follow up with the inspection. They will contact that person and make sure either they change their product type or modify their labeling wording to make them comply with the cottage food, or they can get them licensed to make them their product, commercial product that can be sold at farmers market. That's all I have. Now, any questions? Let me go.
Yeah, there's some questions about samples. So say an item is exempt and it's like a coffee or a tea, and they're selling an exempt product of that, but they want to offer samples so that people can see, well, what does this tea or coffee taste like when it's made? Are samples allowed in those?
Yeah, these are allowed as long as they keep the product, prevent any environmental contamination, and also use single-use cups or something that they don't need to wash, rinse, sanitize. So and protect from environmental contamination. But they not sell the sample; they just provide the samples for tasting or for marketing purpose. But they are not selling coffee or tea. But they are selling the dried coffee bean or the dried tea. That is fine. Yeah.
There's also I see people are having some confusion about selling hot coffee or tea hot. So I just want to help clarify that though selling hot foods, selling hot drinks, it doesn't matter actually, hot drinks, cold drinks, drinks that are made on site at your market, those actually fall under your county health department, not the state, Oregon Department of Agriculture
Yes.
food program. That they need to get, those hot food vendors need to get a temporary event permit from their county. And I'd be happy to talk with, I'd be happy if people want to contact me afterwards or later to talk a little bit more about the county health permits and what those are for. I'm happy to guide you all on those a little bit because that's a little outside of what this workshop is about.
So just some basic background information for the licensing agency. So in Oregon, we have two licensing agencies. One is Department of Agriculture, us, and the other is the local county health department. So the difference between the two agencies is we license a food facility that makes food for later consumption. So for example, these retail stores, food manufacturers, dairy farms, meat shop. So the customer purchase the product and take home for later consumption. So that will be licensed by Oregon Department of Agriculture. And for the county health department, they license a facility who makes food for immediate consumption. So like the hot coffee, hot tea, you consume the product on site that is immediate consumption. So these are licensed by the county health department. So they license restaurant, food cart, coffee shops, and catering activities. And also the hot food service at farmers market, they will, I think it's called a temporary restaurant license or something like that. And sometimes you may see a combination facility. For example, a winery, they make bottled wine, but they also have wine tasting room. So wine tasting is more an immediate consumption. So for that case, then we will talk to the county. We could just gather the information and determine who will be licensing this facility. So that will be depending on what is their predominant activity. So if the food service is like 51%, then that's the county. But if the bottled wine production is more than 50%, then they will be with us. So, but anyway, so that is called combination facility. But that's not related with your farm market operation. But I just want to provide you some information.
Okay, there are some questions about really specific products such as flavored vinegars. Can someone buy commercial vinegar and add flavor to it for sale? There was also a question about refrigerator pickles.
Okay.
Quick
So vinegar is not, so back to this slide. So you don't see vinegars on the list. So vinegar is not covered on the cottage food exemption. So basically no vinegars here. Jam, jelly, honey, syrup, fruit butter. These are liquid product. We don't have not liquid. Vinegar is not exempt on the cottage food. And also vinegar is not exempt under Farm Direct, I believe, because Farm Direct allows lacto-fermented fruits and vegetables, such as sauerkraut, kimchi, and pickles. Vinegar is not a lacto-fermented product. Vinegar is, I believe vinegar is acetic acid fermented product, so it's not lacto-fermented. So vinegar production is not exempt under cottage food nor Farm Direct. So if you make vinegar, you need to get a license with ODA.
Okay, so people, I think related to this is people are asking, but can you make an apple cider vinegar? I'm not, yeah. So apple cider vinegar was asked for more clarification. And then also about vanilla. And I'm a little unsure, Delaney, if you mean somebody just wants to sell vanilla extract made itself, or are you asking about vanilla extract like being an ingredient?
So vanilla is first looking at this list here. So vanilla is not on this list, so it's not cottage food. If they make vanilla extraction, they would need a license with ODA. And vanilla extraction, the main ingredients is, I believe, is alcohol. Correct. So if you do farm direct, the principal ingredient has to be grown by the farmer. So I don't think alcohol will be able to made by the farmer. I don't, yeah, vanilla extraction is not under Farm Direct either.
Yeah, so that Delaney, that vanilla vendor would need to get a license from ODA to sell it.
If they do vanilla extraction, but if they just sell vanilla bean or dry vanilla, that will be under Farm Direct. But I'm talking about vanilla extraction, vanilla extract. That is a process requiring a license with ODA because the major ingredient is alcohol, not the vanilla. But if you just the raw vanilla bean or dry vanilla, that is Farm Direct.
Let's see. There's a question about, do bulk baked goods need a notice posted about allergens, or is an available ingredients list sufficient? And the question says this may be a county level issue, but do bulk baked goods need to be covered at the farmer's market, or is a caution type barrier sufficient to protect products from contamination?
Yes, any food at farmers market need to be protected from any potential contamination. So either they can be covered or they can be held in a case, just prevent any environmental contamination. So if they are cottage food, then if they are not packaged, then as showing on this slide, that they must have a placard to show this is cottage food, and then they must have all the labeling information available upon request. So if it's not packaged, and if customer asks what allergens this bread contain, then you need to provide such information. You must let them know this contains wheat, milk, soil, whatever is in the bread. So the information must be available upon request. That applies to all bulk food at farmers market, not only cottage food. For cottage food, just the additional placard need to be posted. But if you make commercial bread, but it's not packaged, it's bulk sale, you still need to have the information available upon request.
How much does an ODA license cost?
That's a good question. It depends. Let me see. We have a fee schedule, which I can share. Hold on. So I need to. So you still see my slide, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so how can I quit the? Oh, I'm not familiar with. How do I quit the? I can send you the fee schedule later. Yeah, I just don't know how to quit the screen.
Oh,
Uh,
do you want to stop sharing your screen?
yeah, I want to stop share because I'm only sharing the slide. I want to share a different
Okay.
Oh, stop sharing. I find it.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay. Let me share again. This time I'm going to share my whole window. So I'm back, and do you see the fee schedule?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So you can see every different type of license has different fee schedule, and also they have different license fees based on the gross annual sale. So for retail, you can see start from 159 and then ended if they make great then 10 million, then 825. So most likely for farmers market, they may need a bakery license. So this is the fee schedule. I can share this with you later. I can email you this fee schedule, and then I need to email you the fee schedule for 2025 to 26. But the numbers are same. There's no fee increase for next year. And then we have the domestication bakery fee schedule also. And for domestication food processor license, which is a flat rate, 23, and we also have dairy and other license fee based on the gross annual sale level. Okay.
Great, thanks. Yes, we'll include that with the information, the slides and the recording and the links and resources.
Yeah.
Do.
The
More questions about specific items. Where do dried mushrooms, jerky, and tinctures fall? Do they require licensing or are these exempt?
So jerky is a meat product that will require a meat license. Tincture, yeah, tincture would need a food processor license. For dried mushroom, the question is, do they grow the mushroom? And it could be for on the farm direct. If they grow the mushroom, or is that wild mushroom?
Most. Patty, do you want to share what specifically it is? Usually okay,
They
both.
grow both.
Both
So
grown.
if they grow mushroom, then they are the farmer. So and the drying is allowed. Then they can for that falls under farm direct exemption. For wild mushroom, there are some specific information like the identifier for the mushroom. There's some document requirement because you have to put extra caution for the wild mushroom harvesting. They need to document the identifiers qualification, the name and contact information, I believe. Yeah. when you sell to a retail store, the retail store owner or manager must keep the record for the mushroom identifiers information. That is allowed, but there's extra some additional requirement for wild mushroom.
How about, okay, this is about the domestic license,
Mhm.
domestic kitchen license.
Mhm.
Those require a home visit.
Yes, so if you apply for a domestic kitchen license, then we will, after you are licensed. So first, the inspector need to schedule an initial approval inspection. So the inspector will come to your kitchen and do a facility check, make sure you meet the minimum requirements. If your kitchen is adequate for the commercial food processing and you have all the facilities to do sanitation, then the license will be issued. And after that, the inspector may do an annual routine inspection at your kitchen. But because this is a home kitchen operation, the inspector will contact you in advance to schedule the inspection with you. Normally, we would like to see you, we would like to inspect you when you are in active operation. So for other commercial facilities, we do unannounced inspection, but for domestic kitchen, we will make an appointment with you in advance. And we are flexible. We understand sometimes people have a daily job and they cannot do 8 to 5 inspection. So if that occurs, our inspector will flex their time. They could do weekend inspection or evening inspection if that is a must. Because we really want to see you in operation when you do the inspection. And for cottage food, we would not inspect any cottage food unless there's a consumer complaint we received. Then to protect public health, although you're exempt, we remain our authority to inspect the kitchen that is on the exemption. And we could revoke the exemption if a public health is threatened, then we could revoke that. And if we receive consumer complaint, we will follow up.
Lisa is asking about chicken and duck eggs, goat's milk, dairy,
Oh.
directly to customers. I think that's again another area.
Another exemption, yeah. So the eggs, I believe, is exempt under Farm Direct. If they sell directly to the end user, they are exempt, but only shell eggs. And goat cheese, goat milk, that is let me see. Dairy, yeah, I'm not the dairy manager, but they do have dairy exemption. So I'm looking at the information sheet. 3 dairy cows, no more than 2 producing that have calved at least once. 9 sheep that have lactated at least once. 9 goats. Yeah, so these, if you have this specific, I don't want to give you wrong information. So we do have some dairy exemptions, but they have the limit on the number of cows and sheep and goats. So if you have specific question, feel free to email me these questions and I will let our dairy manager provide you the information.
Yeah, maybe with the time, we only have about 5 minutes left. And I love all the questions that people are asking. And it reminds me how hard market managers' jobs are, you know,
Yeah.
parsing through all of this and trying to be a good resource for your vendors and helping them understand all the rules. Um, and and wanting to do the right thing. And one of the things we hoped with this webinar that it would help you do is to help you know how to go right to the source and ask ODA these questions yourself. So maybe, Jingyun, if we could just review, how does someone get in touch with someone like you at ODA so that they can go ask all of these questions in depth and get answers to them, and then also teach their vendor. So once the market manager knows how to get in touch with ODA, then they can teach their vendor how to get in touch with ODA.
Yes, yeah. that is very appreciated that you convey the information to the vendors. So if for cottage food and farm direct exemptions, I could be the contact person. So you can just email me, or maybe they can send to you, Amanda, and then you can forward those emails to me, and I will be happy to provide you the information or answers. Or if they need a license, I can direct them to the local inspector. If it's dairy exemption or other exemptions, then if I don't have the answer, I will let our other program manager provide you the information. Yeah, I can be the contact person.
It's very kind of you. There are 130 farmers markets in Oregon and probably 100 market managers in Oregon.
Yeah,
That's
so
nice
yeah,
of you to be
that
that.
that's fine. Yeah, and also I would like to mention OSU Extension. They have very good knowledge on Farm Direct exemption, and they have a website, and they also provide consultation for farmers to help them develop Farm Direct products. So that could be a resource the vendors can use.
Just going to add your information to, there we go. Put Jingyun's contact. We'll include this in the follow-up information too, how to reach Jingyun. But here it is in the link as well, in the chat as well. Just a second, there we go. Yeah, and I think we put the link earlier in the chat too about the how to reach ODA staff directly for your county, and that they are all just as good as Jingyun at answering these questions as well. And I really hope that you'll see them as a resource. They want to help you as the market manager and your vendors get the right licensing, or tell you when you don't need a license, when something is underneath an qualifies for the exemption and you don't actually need to get a license. But they really want to help you with those things. They're not out there to just create fines and get people in trouble. So please reach out and get to know them.
So we always educate first. So if we see someone is not compliant, the first step we will just provide them information and help them comply with the regulation. So we do not do enforcement as our first step. Education first is our first step.
Thanks, everybody. So good to see you all, and I hope that we'll see you again in upcoming webinars or yeah.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, Amanda, for providing me this opportunity.
Yeah, so glad you could be here. We hope maybe it's looking like maybe we should have you come back for maybe a Farm Direct one,
Yeah.
or some other sessions on some of the other exemptions and licenses. So.
Yeah, Erin Lockett, she was the Farm Direct person, but now she's no longer with ODA, so I'm trying to catch up with that part. So yeah, if there's opportunities, I will be happy to come back to talk about Farm Direct as well.
Thanks so much.
You're very welcome.
Have
Thank
a
you,
good day,
everyone.
everybody.
Mhm.